I think that if somebody walked into a brick and mortar office for a therapy session and it looked like an unfinished warehouse, people are going to be kind of weirded out a little bit. Same thing for a video chat. If they come into my space, as it were, and it looks nice and it's framed nice, camera looks nice, I look nice, then they're going to immediately respond to that as, oh, he's a professional. He knows what he's doing. I feel connected to him, even on a subconscious level. And that's important enough to me to invest in.
This is On Camera, On Brand, a show for professionals who want to look good on camera, but don't have the time or expertise to turn their office into a Hollywood studio. In each episode, Rob Ruscher uncovers how professionals can get the most from their home or office setups. If you invest the time to share your stories on camera, you should be on brand.
Hey everyone, welcome back to On Camera On Brand. I'm your host, Rob Ruscher, and today we are doing another on-camera upgrade, a home office makeover with my good friend, Chris Hatchett. Chris is a film and commercial producer, and he also is a certified relationship coach. Chris is looking to establish his professionalism on these pitch calls as a producer, and he also wants to expand his relationship coaching services by offering virtual sessions. So without wasting any time, let's welcome Chris on the show and get this going. Chris, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for taking the time.
Hey, thanks so much, Rob. It's good to see your face.
Yeah, I know, man. Across the country, there, you're like right next to me, and I like
We
it,
have the technology. It's great.
dude. Well, yeah. And speaking of, so it sounds like you're doing a lot more. As I feel like a lot of professionals are. Like, are all your meetings now video calls? Is it still a mix?
Just about, yeah. Just about. I would say probably 95% are video calls.
So, Chris, those that aren't familiar with what a video producer does at that level for movies, shows, commercials, what do those virtual calls look like for you? And what is your goal walking away from it?
Yeah, so a lot of the calls are, they're either general calls where pitching something initially to somebody, see it if they're regarding their interest, and then deeper into that, they're presentation calls. So you want to be able to make sure that you look good, you sound good I mean, we're all video professionals. So this is our platform to make sure that we look the best, we sound the best, all of that. You know what I mean? And these are to buyers and investors. So looking and sounding the best that we possibly can is crucial and extremely paramount.
Yeah, no, and I honestly, that's where the podcast title for this came, On Camera, On Brand, because I've noticed that too, even as a DP. It's like, how can I go on these calls and tell you to pay me, for your six-figure commercial to shoot
Right.
it if I look like junk, and then it just was kind of a natural progression as I did it more and more. Not only did I notice how much more people paid attention to me, if that makes sense. It was like when I was speaking, everyone stopped. You could just tell, because I grabbed their attention, whether it was with the audio and the microphone or just the visuals. So that's really
Right.
cool.
Well, and being a guy that is branded as Rusher Visuals, I would feel like visuals is a little bit of everything. Yeah.
It's very, very true. Yeah. So I guess as a producer, maybe you don't have to sell that, but I do feel like it just shows like, hey, if this individual is coming to us and they look like this on the virtual call, on the pitch meeting, like what is our project going to look like? What is the rest of this client experience going to be like?
Absolutely. And I mean, it's even things that I've talked to people about as far as like, what does your website look like? That's where people first discover you. So branding is everything. And branding continues not just through your website, not just through your output, but through how you communicate in these virtual calls. To your point, branding is everything.
Yeah, no, that's great. So when it comes to you specifically being on camera, doing these virtual calls, what are some of the biggest issues you've been facing so far?
Issues are, it's hard to see people dropping out of the call, bad internet, or they're taking it at a coffee shop where it's loud noise and you can't really hear what they're saying. There's been from everything from just like visual, you can't really connect with them if everything's dark. There's been issues with just being able to make that virtual connection with somebody to the point where you care about what they have to say.
Yeah, and thinking of you specifically, is there anything that you don't like recording about yourself, or even you get on these meetings and you get off and you're like, ah,
Everything. I hate everything about it. No, It's weird when you go live, and you're in a live call because it's almost like I wish I could pre-record everything so I just present the best of the best, right? It kind of gives me a little bit of sympathy and empathy for newscasters, right? They're live on the air in front of millions of people. I'm only live on a Zoom call in front of maybe 5 to 10 people, right? So there's flubs, there's vocal things that I don't say it the right way or communicate it the right way that you just overlook when you're just having an interpersonal conversation, right? But being able to do that on video is just I always kind of cringe anytime I'm queuing up a Zoom call and trying to figure out how to best position myself so that I look as good as you even. And a lot of these DPs that I work with, I always comment with some of my other producer colleagues that it's always wild when you see these cinematographers on a Zoom call because everything's all professionally lit. And like you get a producer on a Zoom call, everything looks like garbage. It's like we don't care. We bring the money and that's it. Like we bring the money, we assemble the crews. And you guys are all like, "Oh, well, here's my wonderfully professionally lit studio.
Totally.
I wanna
Yeah, no,
I wanna be as
it
cool as you guys."
no, man, that's why you're here. That's what we're gonna do here. And do you feel like maybe if you did have the right technology, if you had the right setup where you could kind of more or less turn it on and have this kind of vibe, you would enjoy those calls more?
Oh, I think so for sure. I think it would give me a little bit more confidence. Not that I lack confidence in communicating by any means, but I think, it's all about, presenting yourself. So the better tools that you have to present yourself in a better light, you just naturally get an extra little dose of confidence, you know?
Yeah, and maybe, you could answer this question in either of the roles, but in my head I'm thinking more of the relationship coaching you're doing and really connecting with these couples. Why do you feel it's important to invest in your on-camera setup versus just do your webcam?
It goes back to the professional setting, right? As a professional filmmaker or as a professional coach, it's all about how you present yourself and all about how you bridge that connection between who's watching you on the other end and you yourself, right? I think that if somebody walked into a brick and mortar office for a therapy session and it looked like an unfinished warehouse, people are gonna be kinda weirded out a little bit. If you go into a doctor's office and it's dirty and it looks gross, and you're kinda gonna ask yourself, "What is the professionalism of these people?" Right? Same thing for a video chat. If they come into my space, as it were, and it looks nice and it's framed nice, camera looks nice, I look nice, then they're gonna immediately respond to that as, "Oh, he's a professional. He knows what he's doing. I feel connected to him," even on a subconscious level. And that's important enough to me to invest in.
Yeah, dude, that's a great. I mean, I've thought of this, but not the way you broke it down. I love the comparison to a brick and mortar because it's a way to build initial trust with somebody, to just say, hey,
Yes.
here I am. I took the time to make this all look good. This is what I do, and I take it seriously.
Right. Right. And I mean, we don't always have the luxury or the funds to have a brick and mortar. So these virtual brick and mortars, they're important in how you present them.
Yeah, and what I found too is, and I know you can vouch from working with me on set, is you don't always need all the toys and tools. I mean, I love having every single light and trucks at my disposal, but a lot of times it's just finding the right angle, the right space, and using what you have. And then, maybe
Yes.
later down the road you could layer in something.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. One of the things I love most about working with you from a producer standpoint, managing a budget, is you don't order an 18 wheeler full of, $100,000 worth of lighting gear. You're like, no, I'm nimble. I don't need all the bells and whistles. I can make it look like I have all the bells and whistles with just a little bit, and you're efficient that way, and that makes you valuable.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I think, and part of that too, I just think that is, and we won't go on this too much, but I feel like that's the trend. Like when I first came into the industry as a commercial cinematographer, no one wanted 20 videos. They wanted one. They were willing to pay 150, 200. I mean, even now, that much money I've been on those budgets for one, where now I'm trying to find that nice balance of like, okay, how can I make myself look great? But I want to be able to make content every day. I want to be able to jump on this call with you, record this podcast, then go to my next thing. And I think that will just transition to get this going. Is there anything before we get started? Is there anything you were hoping to get out of this setup?
As a visual person working with you, it'd be great to like get some tips on how to like make my virtual brick and mortar, we'll just call it that, make it look better, present better.
Nice. Okay, so let's start then. Why don't you give me a quick overview? It looks like you're in a home office. You got a nice window there by your side. I think you're using an iPhone for your camera, right?
I am, yeah. I'm using my, iPhone 14.
Okay. And then is that just the standard or do you kind of have a application to control any of the settings on it?
Yeah, so I've got an app called Camo. There's
Okay.
multiple apps out there like it, but Camo kinda gives you a lot more control over just using camera through Zoom or through, whatever chat program, video conferencing
Yeah.
program you're using.
No, that's awesome. With the newer updates, I mean, I don't think it's like today new, but recently with the new software updates for Mac and iPhone, it's awesome just to wirelessly connect and use that. It's
Yeah.
it's way above the built-in cam. So I'm glad we're already there because that's a big step. We'll save some time. But if anyone is an Apple user, well, and even if not, Camo can work with PC. But if you are stuck
Yeah.
just using your built-in webcam, I highly recommend looking for ways to use your phone and mount it because it's a huge upgrade.
Yeah, and I've just got my phone on a little tripod stand that I got from Amazon that I think was like 10 bucks, and I've just got
Yeah.
that on my desk, and I've got it. The main thing is making sure it's eye level. I don't wanna use my webcam on my laptop because then you're kinda, like, looking up at me, up my nose, and that's just not a good way to look.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so in terms of the actual physical space you're in, I know your partner, she has a desk next to you, so you're kind of in that corner, right? We can't
Mhm.
really switch around the room. We don't have
That's
free
right.
range yet.
I'm boxed in.
But maybe Fox it. No, it's good. I love the windows there and stuff. I think the first thing, if you're down for it, what I would look into before we go too far on anything is if you can bring up that Camo app on your computer. One thing people don't realize is if you're using the normal rear facing camera of an iPhone, you have three lenses, the wide, the medium, and the telephoto. The funny thing is the wide or the medium lens, not the super point 0.5 wide, is actually a wide lens. And I found there's a sweet spot between like 120% to like 140% zoom. And I know
Mm.
Camo has that. It should be on your left-hand side. I have Camo. I can bring up that application to show you. Yeah, so on the left side, you have camera settings. You're going to scroll down. You can choose the lens, 1080, 30 for the resolution is perfect. And then if you come all the way down image transformation. See, like already,
Oh,
I
yeah.
love that much more. And one of the reasons I start with this first for people that are listening is I always frame first. We don't want to work twice, three times. We don't want to redo what we've done. So the first thing we'll do is kind of find your frame. And in terms of where you're facing and looking and being able to see the camera, is that good for you if like you need to use your screen, or would you rather have the camera on the other side? So if you need to like use your laptop or computer.
I like my camera where it's at currently because it kinda, like, frames this space a little bit better, and I like that I can now
Yeah.
change and kind of tighten in that space because 'cause I've got some boxes and stuff that are still unpacked over in the corner, so now we've kinda contained my space a little bit better. I like that more.
No, dude, I'm with you. I know a lot of people can relate to that. I'm moving soon, and that's always the tough thing. It's like I'm stressed about the move in general, but then I'm like, where am I putting all this stuff, right? Like, where am
Right,
I gonna
right. It's like
set all this up?
and then you still have to
Yeah,
work, so you're like, don't look at
that
my
is.
mess."
I know, I know. Well, let's get this going quick. That's why I'm here to help you. So I love the framing here. Are you able to raise your camera slightly? What I'm thinking is if you
Yeah,
raise the camera and tilt down, that might help with your headroom and positioning. So while Chris is doing that, so this reason I like to look almost straight into camera. I usually position the camera like just a few inches above my eye line. And then I don't like to give too much headroom. So I definitely don't want to see your ceiling. That's looking way better, Chris, already
yeah.
from where you started, just to kind of center you in. The window that's behind you that you're seeing, do you have like curtains or anything that can slow that
Yeah,
down, so to speak? And slow it down is just a term. It just means like kind of kill that. Oh, that's nice. There you go. Nice. I like the textures too. That's
yeah.
cool.
How's that?
Dude, that's looking great. And I know we talked before, and we decided on a light for you. We decided on the Elgato key light, and I know you said you kind of had that all hooked up, right, and ready to
I d
go.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, let's check that out. And depending on the flexibility to move it, I feel it will be best to be on the side closest to the window. And what that will do is kind of help wrap that window light, and then you're not pushing a light from the opposite side. And the reason I don't like doing that is because then you get what's called double shadows. You're going to see shadows on one side of your face, but if I'm pushing a light on the other to bring up, what's called the fill side, now I'm going to have shadows on both sides of my face, which can look a little odd and distracting.
So you want me to move my light that way?
Yeah, so if you're looking at the screen, I'd say to your left. So if you're able to adjust it to the window, and this is just called wrapping the key light is this technique. So I'm adding another light to help wrap and carry over your window light. It'll make it look natural. It'll make it look like you don't have any lights on you, which I'm a fan of. And it should just give you one nice soft light over your face. And I definitely recommend having the reason I
Okay,
know we went back
how's
and
that?
oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, see that? That's looking real nice and natural. One thing I will test out too for you, if since you're on an Apple computer, on the top right of your toolbar where you have the little drop down, you should see where you like Wi-Fi and display sound settings. There should be a video effects button you can click.
A video effects button.
Yeah, so if you right next to the search bar, your spotlight search on your top taskbar there. This is not in Riverside. This would be on your computer itself. So like kind of where you have the
I
Siri
don't
button in time. Oh, you don't have okay.
I've got Control Center, but I don't have video effects.
Oh, interesting. I wonder if that is because I know you said you're on an older computer, right?
I am, yeah.
Now on Camo, is there okay, I got an idea for you. Are you on the
Camo
Camo
has
app
some
real quick?
options. I am, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So go under the, I believe it's presets, and I think you can select portrait. It's either presets or mode, and I'm sorry I'm not super familiar with the software.
How's that?
Yeah, see how that just blurs out your
Yeah,
background? And what it does is you already had some nice things going on and I wasn't distracted, but what it makes you do is now you're popping. It's like I notice your
right.
background and you could even play later down if you want like moving in that bookshelf a little bit. I am a huge, huge fan on my wider shot with Riverside. You're seeing a smaller one, but I love having lamps and lights in my background. They're soft. Bonus if you have an RGB bulb, Chris, because then on your phone, you could quickly just adjust slightly different color. As the sun raises or lowers, you can kind of adjust for that. But I'm liking this frame. I like seeing your piano. Because to me, I'm a big fan of if it looks neat in your space and it's a conversational piece, that's a bonus. So whether
Right, right.
everyone has a music something. So I think having pieces in the background that can encourage someone to talk to you or get to know you more, I don't know. I'm a fan of that. I've seen success with just having little Zion things and different rocks and pieces in my background that people want to talk about.
Yeah, no, I like that.
Yeah, and the other thing, I'll leave it at this with framing because I honestly, dude, I think we're ready to move on to the next. But notice too where you are at in frame. If you ever wanted to center up with camera, let's say this is just delivering a pre-recorded welcome message, some type of
Mhm.
video you want to throw in an email for a client or someone you're reaching out to, I would position yourself to be dead center. And then you're going to put yourself in that corner. Do you see how you kind of have this corner between the window and your poster
Right.
frame? Yeah, see, now that just gives depth and the way the walls go in, like I am forced to look at you. I have to stare at you now, which
Right.
which I like. It kind of almost demands attention. Yeah, man, I'm really liking it. And to be honest, I like your downside right here. Your again, the fill side for those that are listening, not watching, whatever side your brightest light is on, the other side of your face that has the shadows is kind of called the fill side. So there's two things you can I mean, there's I'll say three things. One, you could move your light back and forth and practice with that, but I would say just hold it for now. You can add another light. I don't like to go too far over. My fill light is actually like right next to my camera. That way it's just, all the shadows. Oops, sorry, bumped my mic. All the shadows are pushed from one side. And then obviously the cheap, quick way, if you foam core, beadboard, you can go to any craft store and get those trifold.
Even a hand. Look at this. Look at this.
Yeah, it doesn't take much. I mean, these lights, that's why I really like the Elgato lights. Although they're soft, they have a huge punch. I mean, I'm only at 40% on my key light here. Um,
I'm at, let's see, what am I at? Yeah, I'm at about 70%.
Yeah, and though if those are listening that are curious about this light I'm talking about, Chris, definitely reach out. I can tell you more, but just a quick thing, just my favorite feature, and I won't go too far. Chris knows I will sidebar for days on gear, but what I love most about these lights is when you buy them for free, you get the Control Center app. So the software Elgato makes is I can just click up here and drag the color temperature, click it off, and then obviously adjust the brightness. So that's really cool. I use the Stream Deck. I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's just like little buttons and knobs here so I can just like quickly, change my lights as I want. Okay, so that's great. I think the next thing we have our frame lined up once we discovered, hey, this is a great frame for you. We messed with the lighting a little bit. I mean, honestly, man, you were pretty close to where you were. We zoomed in, we added the light to wrap that window light. So I think now we're on to audio, and I already know what you have because I'm jealous of it. But why don't you tell everyone which microphone you have, Chris?
Yeah, so I've got the SMB 70. I think it's a 78, right?
Yeah, like the SM7B, I believe. Yeah.
SM7B. Yeah, I got it. It's the same one Joe Rogan uses for his podcast. I picked that up, and then I'm running that Roadcaster, so I could adjust levels and stuff on there. I can even queue up
Ooh.
audio and stuff like that on here. So
So that's your mixer. Is that the main big one that has all the knobs and the cool buttons, like the
yeah, yeah.
Rode
Let me show
Procaster?
it
Oh
quick.
yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah. Nice.
It's that right there. Apologize for the focus.
No, no, it's okay.
Focus set.
Yeah.
Um,
The
but
autofocus does work well. You should mess with it a little bit because that way you don't have to deal with if you lean in and out a little bit.
you
I've been
know,
pretty happy with it.
I've got autofocus working. It just didn't pick
Oh,
up on the
it took a little while. The thing,
it
yeah,
had a little bit of a delay.
that's all right. Well, it's not a Sony FX3 or anything,
It's
so
not. It's not. And I mean, but to your point though, some people are using some of these mirrorless cameras for their Zoom calls.
I mean,
You
that's what
know?
I use, and again, I'm
Yeah.
I'm using it because that's what I own. I'm
Right,
I'm
right.
lucky that I have some of the toys and tools from the commercial world, but,
But even down
no,
to an
man,
iPhone, it works well.
no, I think you look great, to be honest, and I mean, I'm just a huge fanboy right now of these Elgato lights. I just think the way there's a lot of small lights, and those are great. You would think, "Oh, I just need a little bit," but this key light that we hooked you up with instead of just their key light air, which is what I use for my fill light, is how long, you notice how wide that spread is, and that will help with your shadows and just create just this more pleasing soft look here.
That light, to your point, is really great. For those of you watching, it's about the size of your laptop screen.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah,
a
you're
little
right.
bit smaller than your laptop screen, but it's a soft light and it's flat. It comes on a telescoping stand so you can clamp it to your desk and mount it and really put it anywhere. It's super, super handy. And being able to have, it's super easy to connect to your wireless. You can control it from your phone or your laptop. And it's super easy to control your light temperature settings, your intensity, up and down. It's just a click of a button. Super, super easy to use.
Well, and so tell me about the microphone placement. Sorry, just to switch gears after
Sure.
lighting
Yeah.
with your placement because you do sound good, and I know you were saying you have like a telescoping arm for it, but that you got to figure that out. So now, do you just have like a little base you made for the microphone?
I actually got the arm working. So right now it's kind of behind my camera, but if I move it forward to here,
Yeah, you can tell the
it kind of
difference
it
of
kind of get
sound.
it gets in the frame.
Yeah. Yeah, so what I did with mine is I have it attached. You can see the arm a little bit to the left of my camera, and then I just kind of have the arm coming straight. So that way yeah, something in there. I think you'll have to mess with that a little bit. Check that out. Cause I've noticed that, especially with these microphones, and I had a sound recordist on, a field sound recordist that I work with, and we were just doing some testing as we recorded, and these microphones, as good as they are, there's a huge difference of the best way I can explain it is the power of your sound. When you were far away, it didn't sound bad, and you had a quiet room. And honestly, if you're doing more personal conversations, I think maybe sliding the microphone out of your frame is the way to go. But anything like this podcast talking, even when I usually work with clients, I have the microphone in just because I want that sound. To me, that sound is way more important than not seeing this microphone, especially if I'm doing some screen sharing and myself isn't like full screen.
Right, right. Let me play with this. How's that?
Yeah, see, you have that the bass in your voice, that power.
Right.
Yeah, right there. It's just, and it's so hard to explain. I'm sure the people listening can hear a big difference from you. I mean, even me, if I was back here and I was telling you about things, and then I came here
Right.
to tell
Right.
you about it. It's just when you're on a call, I mean, the podcast, we're all listening to this. Maybe you're in the car, maybe you're on at your home office, but if you're in a meeting and everyone sounds like this, they're talking like this, and then you come on, Chris, and you're telling them what you want, what you think. I found that people just listen, and it is funny to see the change just from upgrading your audio and video on these calls.
Right. And I can even with the Rodecaster, it's got voice tone. It's got some built-in compressors into the software of the mixer itself. So this is like a deep tone. This is a medium tone. This is a higher tone.
The deeper medium were sounding good, and again, the thing I found is those effects obviously are great, but I would play, when you get time, mess around with it, turn off the effects, and then just see where can I position my microphone to look into camera, if I wanna look at my screen, that kinda
Yeah.
stuff, and you'll find it. I mean,
Yeah.
those mics are great. The downside of those types of mics, as you noticed, is as soon as I go a couple inches away, it's a huge
Right, right.
difference.
Yeah, it's very as you move, it's main line and for microphone direction is extremely important in where you place your mic because you want it to your voice is projecting sound outward. So you want to make sure that that mic is capturing that line, because if it's off this way, it's not
Yeah, I
capturing
can
the line, but if it's
yeah,
this way, it captures that line as you're speaking towards camera. You always want to speak towards camera.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
just
I mean,
my little audio tip of the day.
no, I was just gonna say, I mean, I can outdo you on the visuals, but you have the audio background, so I'm sure you'll find some ways, and when you figure out some tricks, send them my way of stuff you're
Yeah.
finding that works for the
Yeah,
audio.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, man, seriously, man, I'm really liking it. I would also play, and we don't have to save this. We could save this on your own time, but the zooming of the iPhone control I found is like one of the best features to frame yourself because I mean, go back if you want real quick. You could see what it looks like at the one time, but yeah, see, like you look
It's so
like you're on a
weird.
spaceship, right? And
Like,
that's the one, yeah. So I don't think people realize that your one-time camera on your iPhone is actually a wide lens also. So you definitely want to get
right.
past 120% at least. And then be
But you
careful
don't
because
but
I
you don't
noticed
wanna go too close.
no.
That's too
I noticed
close.
with the
Way too
with the
close.
150, yeah, you start losing quality too. If you push it past
Mhm.
150%. The other thing, since you have the room too, you could always switch the lens to the telephoto and try that out. And see if that would work better to do that and then push the camera back a little bit. Because the
Well, this
telephoto, I
is
believe, is a
this is
three
the
times.
yeah,
Yeah,
this is
that's
a
a lot.
telephoto, but I don't have is there a slider? Oh, there is a
On
slider.
the Yeah, so basically you
Oh,
can
I see.
only increase, you can't zoom out from the widest point. So that's why I found with the iPhone as a webcam, using the one-time lens, turning on all the manual controls, the portrait preset is pretty nice. It softens it up, it throws the background
Oh,
out
I
of
like that. You
focus.
can you can kinda
See?
push you can push in some, and I can frame this microphone arm out a little bit more. I like that.
Yeah, you have
That's
control.
nice.
I think that's the key. It's like as you're learning what will affect your image and you're learning these tools and techniques, you'll find that you're going to want manual control on everything. You do not want
Oh,
any
yeah.
program deciding exposure, audio levels, etc. So, yeah, and then on the right side too, I mean, again, you look really good, but on the right side of camo, you get all the options to adjust your image. Um,
Right. I'm seeing white balance here where I can warm it up some, I can cool it off a little bit. I'm
Yeah,
sitting
for
ri
me, the two biggest controls for me are having control of my white balance and exposure because the iPhone will just keep auto changing it. So you could be in the middle. I mean, it's one thing for a client call, but you could be trying to record a presentation or pre-recorded content. All of a sudden, your window's flaring out. I can't see you. You're blue. You're orange. If there's only two things you want manual control, I would say white balance and exposure. Yeah, then
oh,
you
and
can
you can
adjust the
change your
contrast and
contrast.
totally, the
That's handy.
gamma, yeah, so there's a lot of controls, and what you'll find is if you just take 5 to 10 minutes to go through this and play, you can find the settings that work and then save them. So every time you open up Camo, it will it will already be there, and then you can just make
Right.
final tweaks if maybe the outside lighting and stuff is changed.
Right. That's super clutch. Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, just a quick recap. We started from just having your webcam. We connected to you. Well, I guess you had your webcam at first, then we talked off before we started the episode to use the iPhone. We got you hooked up with Camo and the Pro version, so you had all the manual settings. Then we found where you could best be in that room, and I did that based on where your window placement was and the depth that you have behind you. And again, sometimes it seems like a bad thing. Oh, I don't have all, access to do whatever I want to do in this room. Sometimes I find if you limit your options, you'll end up with something better because then you can just focus on what you can control. So we did that, and then we changed your light from the opposite side and we moved it on the same side as your window so we could have that nice soft wrap. We can add in a white card or something else on the fill side. And then we just worked on positioning that mic to get close to your face, but in a framing that you like. And again, I think depending on what you're doing on camera, I have no problem listening and watching people with a microphone in shot, but sometimes a little more personal, I think, if
Yeah.
there isn't anything else in the frame.
Like I was saying at the beginning of this, I feel more confident. I feel more presentable than I did before, where I was like, oh God, I see that box back there and I see this little thing here. Like, ah, crap. So I feel like that, we've very quickly and very efficiently and easily improved my virtual brick and mortar. So
Yeah,
thanks
again,
for
I
that.
think yeah, dude, of course, man. I'm happy to help. I had a feeling it wouldn't be too hard. You're pretty tech savvy and stuff, which I think a lot of people these days are or need to be.
But even if you're not though, this isn't a complicated setup. I mean, yeah, I've got a mixer and stuff like that, but I mean, Rode makes some great mics that you can clip like a little lav mic to yourself
Mhm.
and plug it into to your smartphone, and then you can use the audio from Camo. You don't need a $300 mic and, a $600 mixer. You can do this on a dime budget and still look and sound as great.
Yeah, and I think for me, it's almost and again, I just how I've been doing cinematography for the past 15 years is just start with setting up the frame and then layer things in. As soon as it's very easy to get overwhelmed, like you said, like, oh, audio. Now I need to make. It's like, no, 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 you don't need all that. Make your space
Mhm.
look the
Right.
best it can. Make yourself sound as good, and then let's see what is lacking, and that's what you get next. And then once that's up, maybe you get this going. Maybe in 6 months with the relationship coaching, you're like, man, I just need a better camera than my phone. It doesn't need to be a $3,000 FX3, but there's a lot of mirrorless and different cameras, and there's a lot of webcams that are starting to come out that are pushing some 4K and looking really nice. So,
Right.
a lot of options there. And, well, the last thing I'll leave you with is more of just this post thing. It's just a little tidbit for people there too. There's a software called Vidyard. There's a lot of video softwares out there. We're using Riverside for podcasting, which I think is great for podcasting. But Vidyard
Sure.
is something you should definitely take a look at for the work you're doing. What it allows you to do is quickly, even just on the Chrome browser, record yourself, give, on camera stuff. Okay, that's great. The power in Vidyard is the tools they give you once you record that video. You can send videos in an email and not just have a link, not make you go click to YouTube or Frame.io, literally embedded in the email. Click on the video, watch this greeting from Chris talking about this. Maybe you're trying to generate new sales. Maybe you're just keeping in touch with some clients. And then the other thing, after that video is done, you can set it so they could click and schedule a call for you. They could click and you can give them actions, which I think is really cool. So the one thing I want you to think about, Chris, from when we get off the call is what are you going to do now that you're recording more videos? Like how are you going to use this tool to increase your profits and expand your
Right.
client base? And there's a lot of tools like that. And we can talk about that more, but that's something to take a look and see what you can do with the video. Like I said, I didn't think this was going to take that long. Is there anything else I can help you with here? Are you feeling, I mean, I guess
Oh,
you're off to the races
this
now.
is yeah, this is great, man. Thank you so much for helping me improve my virtual brick and mortar. This is great.
Dude, absolutely. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. If you get a chance, definitely check out the video version of this on YouTube. You can see the adjustments Chris and I were doing. And if you have any questions on your on-camera setup, please reach out. And if you're looking to be on the podcast, you can also submit a form if you want me to come and do a makeover like we were doing with Chris. So, Chris, where can people find you online if I want to know more about the video work you do and the relationship coaching you offer?
Sure. Me personally, I'm online as a producer on Instagram. You can find me at I am Chris Hatchett. That's Hatchett. The company that I'm working with for films and television is 222 Pictures. That's the number two, three times. And if you're in a spot in your relationship and you need some guidance and help to declutter your mind on how you approach your relationship, whether that's something small or something big, I would love to help coach you through that. You can find me on Instagram at Bondfire Coaching. That's BOND, like the bond between us. Bondfire Coaching on Instagram.
Nice. Dude, I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, man, for
Yeah,
coming out and looking forward to seeing what you do on camera.
perfect. Thank you so much, Rob.
Thanks for checking out On Camera, On Brand. This episode is produced by Motion, a podcast agency that helps B2B organizations create their own shows. If you enjoyed what you learned, check out more episodes at motionagency.io/oncameraonbrand.